The DJI Mini 2 has been my travel companion for the last few years, and to be honest, I never expected it to deliver such an amazing performance. This little drone opened up a whole new world of creativity and exploration for me, sparking endless possibilities and pushing the boundaries of what I thought was possible. Today, I want to take you along on that journey and share some of my absolute favorite shots, each capturing a moment of wonder and a story worth telling. This first one was captured on a late evening, just as the sun began to set. The way the light broke through the clouds and bathed the landscape in a golden glow made this shot unforgettable. It was one of those moments that reminded you why flying is worth it. For this shot, I started by creating an orbit around the windmill by moving left and rotating right. And then I added the gimbal upward movement to reveal the landscape and sunset behind the windmill. Then there was this one at the Amalfi Coast. I was casually shooting a reverse reveal shot when a boat doing O's in the water entered the frame. For this shot, I started by moving backward and rotating right to create a sweeping motion across the landscape. And then I added an upward gimbal tilt to reveal the rest of the landscape. On this day, I took the Mini 2 to the coast. It was a pretty windy day, but the Mini 2 was able to handle everything I threw at it. The best shot I got on this day was this one, where I revealed the steepness of the cliffs. For this shot, I started once again by moving left and rotating right to create an orbit around the subject, and then I added an upward movement and a downward gimbal tilt to reveal the steepness of the cliffs while maintaining the subject always in the center of the frame. And of course, there was this shot, where I flew in what looked like an oasis in the middle of nowhere. It was already late in the afternoon and the sun was at the perfect height to cast those long shadows. For this shot, all I did was flying in front and up while tilting the gimbal down, to always maintain the point of interest in the center of the frame. Then there was this one, where we had to hike for hours to reach the spot, but the breathtaking view made it all worth it. For this shot, I started by creating an orbit around the cross by moving left and rotating right, and then I added an upward movement to increase the altitude and a downward gimbal tilt to keep the cross always in the center of the frame. On this day, we went on a hike that ended by what was back then the longest pedestrian suspension bridge in the world. It took me a while to figure out how to capture the bridge, such that you could appreciate its grandiosity, and this is what I came up with. For this shot, I began the move by moving in front and right. Next, I added an upward movement with the intention to pass as close as possible above the bridge. And as I approached the bridge, I added the downward gimbal tilt to keep the focus on the bridge. And of course, there was this shot of the castle, in one of Portugal's historic villages. I did a few takes on this one and was not very pleased with the results, until I decided to add a 2x zoom that delivered this spectacular shot. For this shot, I started by creating an orbit around the castle by moving left and rotating right. Next, I added a forward and upward movement to move towards the castle while increasing the altitude at the same time. And for the final touch, I added the downward gimbal tilt to keep the point of interest always in the center of the frame. This shot was on another of Portugal's historic villages. I wanted to capture both the historic village in the horizon and the Christ, so I decided to make a top-down reveal shot. For this shot, all I had to do was slowly move down while tilting the gimbal up to reveal the historic city in the background. Then, to switch things up, I took the Mini to the heart of the city. There's something magical about seeing familiar places from such a unique angle, turning everyday life into something cinematic. For this shot, all I did was move right and rotate left. And then there was this keep and cathedral. I wanted to capture both in the same shot, and after trying a lot of different things, this was my favorite. For this shot, I started by once again creating an orbit around the keep, by moving left and rotating right. And then I slowly added a forward move, while at the same time easing on the rotation, to transform the orbit into a sweeping motion. And final but not least was this shot from yet another of Portugal's historic villages. For this shot I started by increasing the zoom to 2 times, and then all I did was to move in front and up while tilting the gimbal down to keep the point of interest always in the center of the frame. And here are all the shots one more time.